Hi, everyone. This is Jeffrey Sykes. I'm here with Stephanie Jutt. We're the co-artistic directors of Bach Dancing and Dynamite. And we are here with one of our all-time favorite BDDS musicians, Adrian Morejon, a wonderful bassoonist who is living in the New York area. Hi, Adrian. How's it
Hello.
going?
It's going. It's it's really a pleasure to be here with you guys and be a part of this great project and ongoing series. And things are going well, and I think it's hard to answer that question these days without just admitting what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
And just spending all this time at home and being with my family, which is great. And I've been spending more time with my 21-month-old Elliot, who is a godsend for me, and really and it's been really great to just spend more time with my family and realize how important that is to me. It's really been important for me to just kind of understand that family has been great. Just spending time with them and how much I travel from work, and kind of thinking about how to reorganize my life when we get out of this to kind of spend more time with my family. So yeah, so things are great. Things are good in that sense, and I've been thinking a lot about the world and what's going on around us.
Well,
But luckily for me, Elliot's also really into. We have an old record player that we've fixed up and have functioning again. And Elliot's been really into playing records. And actually, Jeffrey, I wonder if you remember these. Like growing up, my mom came from Cuba, and she was a pianist when she was in Cuba, but then coming to the States, start all over. This is typical 60s Cuban immigration. And she kind of had to stop playing, but she still had a piano. So from an early age, I had exposure to just having a piano and having that encyclopedia of piano repertoire that was pretty common back then, and all the records that came with it. And luckily, I still have those records. And so, it's really nice to just have that. And Elliot's really into a lot of this like piano repertoire from an early age, and he loves trying to play with it, except we have to watch out because he scratches everything if we're not careful. So it's nice that he's already like developing an interest in a lot of this music, which is great.
That's great. That's because I often forget that you are a keyboard player as well. You are a harpsichordist. In fact, I
Yes.
remember seeing photos of you with a harpsichord in your home.
Did you build that harpsichord?
No, I actually found it. It was up in New Hampshire, and it was a son of a harpsichordist who was in the Boston area who had passed years ago, and the family held on to the instrument. And unfortunately, the instrument was like in kind of a New Hampshire farm type home or living situation where like it wasn't in the right settings for a while. So I had my work cut out for me, but we made a nice deal in me bringing it down home and purchasing it from them. And it's been a little side project of mine just to have something to play on at home. And that's correct. In undergrad, I did both bassoon and harpsichord. And I've been kind of playing more harpsichord in the past couple of years. And so having an instrument at home has been really nice. So, we have the piano, we have the harpsichord, you can see like keyboards but this is more for teaching purposes. And actually I have an electric organ right behind me as well. And so so definitely keyboard's been a big part of my life as well. And I think that influence from my mother probably helped in that.
Oh, I'm sure it
Yeah.
did. I would love to have a harpsichord if I had space. My place is so dinky here. I have space for my piano, and that's about it. But I would love to have a harpsichord. Although having to tune the thing, it takes forever to tune those things. And and you look at a harpsichord and it goes out of tune. I mean, it's like
No, it's true.
maintain wills and the plectra and all of that yourself?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that actually what I have is a Wittmeyer, which I don't know how familiar you are with these instruments from I think it's like the 70s or 80s. They were kind of more modern takes on replicas of harpsichords. So they had some different mechanisms with them. And it just happens to be the instrument that I found. And so luckily, I had good training and maintenance and definitely tuning and whatnot. So I maintain it as best as I can. Yeah. And it's such a great instrument.
Well, we're going to have to take advantage of this in the future, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Yes. Grab a harpsichord for him.
Yeah.
So you can do both in a concert. For sure, we'll do that. We've had harpsichord a couple of times, and Jeff, will play the harpsichord, and he likes to. Mm-hmm. But to have somebody who's really does that all the time is really always a thrill. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. It's a beautiful repertoire, especially with Bach in mind. Of course, we're going to talk about Bach in a bit. And also actually something that I do a lot as primarily a bassoonist who also plays harpsichord, because my career is more bassoon heavy, of course. I do a lot. I like to focus a lot of my attention on the contemporary repertoire of the harpsichord, because that's also something that many audiences don't get to hear.
That's right.
Yeah, and so for example, last fall, up in Boston, I performed a piece by Due to You for harpsichord, oboe, percussion, and double bass, and that kind of repertoire, I think, is something that stands out to me.
I played. I studied harpsichord for years in graduate school. I did a little bit as an undergraduate. I didn't do a double major or anything, but I had studied organ as an undergraduate. As well as piano, and then did a little bit of harpsichord, and then in graduate school did a lot of harpsichord and loved it. But one of the pieces that I played that I always loved to play was the Manuel de Falla Concerto, which is super fun. The harpsichord concerto, super fun. And then there was this crazy piece. Do you remember, Stephanie, when we played this crazy piece by Ned Rorem called Lovers?
Oh yeah, that was so weird though, Jeff.
Such a weird, cool sounds, but weird.
It was really out there. But, we had a harpsichord that year or that week, when we were looking around for interesting things to do. And I have that one piece called The Mysterious Divertimento of Dr. T. Have you ever heard me play that?
No.
Yeah, that's really great, by a flutist who's a composer named Mark Carlson in LA. A wonderful, wonderful piece.
But aside from that, I have been, and this kind of goes into some of the stuff that's going on in the world. I think especially with all the racial issues going on, I have taken advantage of, Netflix has offered many recommendations around these issues. And I've been meaning to, and I hadn't seen the series When They See Us, which was about the Central Park Five. And so that was really impactful. And on a lighter note, there's kind of drama, or I guess dramedy, would you consider it? Dear White People, which is another fun show. And so I've been trying to just get out of my comfort zone and just kind of try to expose myself to things that I perfectly enjoy, but just either didn't have the time to get to, and admit that I could be better about just seeing more things and being exposed to more things. And so it's been really nice to just explore what's on, we stream a lot of things. We're big Netflix, Hulu people here, and just seeing what's suggested and what's recommended. I think on my short list coming up is The 13th. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, that.
It's a documentary that talks about the 13th Amendment. Yeah,
I think watched Philadelphia, which
yes.
I hadn't seen since it came out. And my son, he's living with me. He has so little knowledge about the AIDS epidemic. And I just really wanted him to see something about it. So I pulled that one out, and oh my God, what a great movie that was.
That's a great movie.
And I want him to see The Normal Heart too. That was such a great movie about ACT UP. Yep. And so, it's a kind of a different part of it, but it's all the same struggle, for equality and acceptance. I mean, Can we just have this, please?
Exactly. And it's, it's a huge, we had an incredible, wonderful Supreme Court ruling this past week.
I know. What a triumph. Like,
What a triumph.
wow.
Yeah. And we need this. We needed this. I feel like, how many years has it been since we got gay marriage in the Supreme Court? That was in 2015.
Not that long ago. Yeah, maybe 5
I think it was 2015. Because actually, Brian and I were married right before that happened. And cause I remember it was between our wedding and our honeymoon.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, and so we were, because in New York State it was legal, so we were married, and then it became the Supreme Court ruled on it, and then we headed off to Norway for our honeymoon, and I remember just like enjoying that timing of it, and this is just as big, and it's coming at a time where we all need some positivity and some hope, and just see that there's people thinking about the right things in the places that we need them to be.
Yeah. No, it's a huge victory. And I mean, we want that victory to spread into other realms too, right?
Yeah.
Other areas. But, during a time like this, a positive note like that, wow. I mean, so welcome, such a welcome note.
No, indeed. Indeed.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you're going to play for us today.
So when you first asked about a box selection, I think my first reaction was just like, I already know what I'm doing. I think I knew from the get-go that it would be the Sarabande from the second suite. And I think this ties in a lot of what we've just talked about and kind of expands on it. When this all started happening with the pandemic, and then even going into the racial issues and the murder of George Floyd and all the rioting and all the protesting, and then all the rioting and looting from different people. And it really, there's so much to take in. There's so much to process. And I think for a while, I just kind of had a little bit of this like numbness or this like hard moment of not knowing how to react. Like I knew what I believed, I knew what I wanted, but I felt almost stunned. And it was hard to express with words how to cope with that, how to do anything with that. It was easier to spend time with my family, work on the yard, and do things that were distractions. And, and I think this all kind of comes down to finding a way to let things out and express yourself. And I think there's a longing, there's this heartbreaking beauty in this Sarabande that, it's in D minor, there's so many potential different shades of emotions that come out of this music. And for me, that was so powerful just to use music to kind of let some of this out. It was really therapeutic to kind of take that pressure that was building up in and just kind of use the music to kind of let it out. And, I knew from the get-go that I had a history with this movement, that I loved performing it, but then the context of doing it now was important. And so I couldn't think of anything else to do. So yeah, it's it really, there's so many things that we can't express with words, and that music enters. Exactly.
So
yeah, I remember my some of my early albums that I had Von Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic playing the St. Matthew Passion. And, I've worked as a choral accompanist a lot during my lifetime, and coached choruses and prepared them for different performances, including Matthew Passion many, many, many times. And I listened to that recording, and like those tempos, they are so slow, the sound is so heavy, it's so full, but oh my God, so beautiful. Just and it's the first performance that I heard, and it just struck me deep in the heart. And the same was true for the Brandenburg Concertos. I think my first recording of the Brandenburg Concertos was Berlin Philharmonic. von Karajan conducting. Of course, today, they're not conducted at all, right? People don't conduct them. And it's much faster, much lighter, but that's the way that I fell in love with this music initially, those old recordings.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. I can't wait to hear this performance today after our interview is over. And I know the audience is going to be so inspired by some of the references that you made today, literature and movies, and of course, these pieces of Bach that we just talked about. So I could listen to you play Bach all day, Adrian. So we can get a chance to do that together in the future.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.